Looking at the quilt over there, we've got a satin stitch down the edge. You would need to thread your machine up with one of those very nice variegated thread. I'm again just using black to save time. Once more, we want the widest zigzag, but you will need it set at satin stitch setting, which is round about 0.5. So reduce your stitch length to about 0.5, 0.45 or 6, whatever it will be. If you find it jams up, forget it, extend the stitch length a little bit. Don't try to shove the fabric through, because all that will happen is you'll get in an awful mess. It's not a good idea to start off on a thread saver either, so just pull the thread saver to the back. As with the previous demonstration, isolate a tuck. Now, when you're doing satin stitching, you do need to make very certain you use the right foot. This is the incorrect foot for use because it has a flat bottom. And the snag with having a foot with a flat bottom is it will jam up on raised decorative stitching. You want a foot that's got a cutaway bottom, cutaway underneath. Ideally, an open toe is even better. But it's one of those things, play with your feet, but you've got to have the one on with the cutaway underneath. It will often be listed in your box of machine parts as the satin stitch or applique foot. So I've got that foot on, the widest satin stitch width, and closed up to about 0.45 or 6. Isolate the tuck, and this time don't start by sewing onto it, shove it underneath, because if you try to sew onto it, it will just scrabble up. So push it well underneath, lower the presser foot, and once more we are trying to go into the very edge of the tuck. If you find the stitching is still a little wide apart, you can close up the satin stitch. The trick with using satin stitch is you've got to run that machine like there's no tomorrow. You run and you run and you run it really fast. It's not going to go anywhere, not going to end up in your lap, but by running the machine fast, you will actually get a better stitch. It sews more evenly. And you are going to plod on. It takes forever. And I must confess, I shan't bother too much with going right to the very end, because otherwise you and I will be sitting here for absolutely ages. But the effect that you get will look like this. It is a little edging of colour down the edge of the tuck. And imagine that in those variegated threads. Just couldn't be nicer.